pleasant day to all of you. This is Dr. Riza Misi Narciso, your subject teacher for the subject Strategic Management. In the previous video, we discussed already about the part 1 of Big Picture C lesson, and right now we will continue the discussion to complete this lesson in this video. Let us start by discussing mergers and acquisition. A merger occurs when two separate entities combine forces to create a new joint organization. Legally speaking, a merger requires two companies to consolidate into a new entity with a new ownership and management structure. Typically, mergers are done to reduce operational costs, expand into new markets, boost revenues and profits. And mergers are usually voluntary and involve companies that are roughly of the same size and scope. Example is the multi-million Uber-Grab merger. In an unprecedented move, ride-hailing rivals Uber and Grab combined their Southeast Asia operations for a multi-million-dollar deal in March. And by 2019, Uber was offline in all of its 8 locations in the region, including the Philippines, as if they were never pioneered the business in the country retaining. That is why Grab services na lang makikita natin. And then meanwhile, an acquisition refers to the takeover of one entity by another. A new company does not emerge. Instead, a smaller company is often consumed and ceases to exist, with its assets becoming part of the larger company. Acquisitions, sometimes called takeovers, generally carry a more negative connotation than mergers. As a result, acquiring companies may refer to an acquisition as a merger even though it's clearly a takeover. An acquisition takes place when one company takes over all of the operational management positions of another company. Acquisitions require large amount of cash, but the buyer's power is absolute. So best example is when BDO acquired ONB, and now called BDO Network Bank. So in conclusion, the two companies involved to form a new enterprise. Like in Grab versus Uber, nawala ang Uber while retain ang Grab, but part of the services of Uber was incorporated in the system of Grab, consolidating the processes and services of each other. Whereas in the acquisition, the two companies do not lose their existence. So BDO and ONB are still there. It's just that the name and management are changed. So since BDO bought ONB, so the control of ONB falls to BDO. Okay, next. A minority of mergers and acquisition may show positive results in the years immediately following the completion of deals. Mergers and acquisition typically create uncertainty. Top salespeople became recruitment targets for rivals, post-merger redundancies, damaged morale, and consumers are sensitive to signs that product or service quality is slipping, while restructuring and cost-cutting can boost short-term earnings. Longer-term progress is difficult if management is damaged by stagnates. So Haspela and Hemison 1991, however, identify a number of distinct post-acquisition organizational styles with specific organizational change implications. Their framework is based upon two key dimensions: the organizational autonomy and the strategic interdependence. The model provides guidance as to the optimal approach that should be adopted for a successful integration of an acquired firm. So it gives 4 approaches based on the 2 criteria which are needed. So strategic interdependence refers to the combined value created after acquisition, which should obviously be greater than the value of both the firms combined together. Value creation can be in many forms like increased resources, skills, or combined benefits, meaning checking each firm's best practices and not totally prevailing the buyer's business processes. Kasi there might be a good practices of Uber na wala sa Grab or vice versa. So part of merger discussion must be finding out the best practices to retain. Next is the organizational autonomy. So this factor refers to the amount of autonomy that must be retained by the acquiring firm. So based on the differential need for the above 2 factors, Haspela and Hemison have identified the following 4 approaches of effective acquisition integration. So let us start by discussing the preservation. Here, the focus is to preserve the acquirer's autonomy and nurture the second firm under it. Although BDO bought O&B, but at some point, a certain freedom shall be given to O&B to ensure employees not to be demotivated thinking that they are working for others na. So some loyal employees will always have a difficulty on adjusting to new management at first kasi rooted na yung culture and practices nila and it's not that easy to change. Example, the freedom to recruit and select applicants can be given to each bank for as long as the standard operating procedure shall be followed. Okay, second is the symbiosis. This is very difficult task where both the factors have to be satisfied and work moves gradually. Example, who will be retained as the manager for each department? Who, when, and how many are we going to lay off? And then third, we have holding. Here, the focus is mainly to create value through financial resource sharing and autonomy needs are low. Example, integration is not given much weightage. So, ang naiba lang is the new management. So, still continue pa rin ang business operation as normal. And lastly, we have absorption. This approach is highly inclined towards focusing on generating the required value from the acquisition, even if that might demand a loss of autonomy or slower or lesser integration. So meaning, a call for focused group discussion and brainstorming as to what should be retained or not, considering what processes or practices is of great value. So when mergers and acquisition occurs, one of the most affected resources is the human resource, and because of this, top management also considered the impact of it by safeguarding the welfare of the employees. Okay, next. At this point, we will discuss the direction of integration, which is the vertical and horizontal. So first, let us tackle the backward integration. A backward integrative growth strategy would involve buying one of your suppliers as a way to better control your supply chain. So doing so could help you to develop new products faster and potentially more cheaply. An example for this is the Starbucks. Starbucks is best known as a chain of coffee shops. As such, it has various suppliers and inputs. It buys coffee beans to make coffee as well as customized mugs and products to sell in its store. It's backward vertically integrated when it bought a coffee farm in China because normally it would have to buy coffee beans from a coffee bean supplier. Starbucks chose to buy a coffee farm in China, an area that showed tremendous growth in the number of coffee drinkers. At the same time, there was an increased growth in the number of coffee drinkers. So at the same time, there was an increased competition among companies selling coffee, such as McDonald's and other chains such as Costa Coffee. So adding so many new coffee drinkers to the market creates competition for high quality beans, with every coffee shop needing to buy them. Competition for high quality beans means that some competitors will not receive them at all, and that those who do will pay a high price driven up by competition. By backward vertically integrating by buying a coffee farm, Starbucks ensure that it will have a bean supply and that it will receive it as a reasonable price. Now, let's understand the forward integration. Okay, as you saw earlier, that backwards means a company acquires those companies who provide the raw materials for manufacturing products. In this case, forward means one company acquires the distribution of sales channel for a move forward. So in the supply chain system, you already saw how supply management processes go on. Apple has its own selling distribution channel as well as its own manufacturing processes. So in this case, Apple uses both the backwards and forwards integration strategies. So Apple has its own software, hardware, and retail stores. Also have their own services company. Apple is the only company who uses all techniques and we can say that it is vertically integrated into everything. Moving on, strategic portfolio analysis involves identification and evaluation of all products or services groups offered by company on the market, we so-called as the product mix, and preparing specific strategies for every group according to its relative market share and actual or projected sales growth rate. It can also be used to make strategic decisions about strategic business units. Portfolio analysis in strategic management allows to answer key questions: how to shape the present and future business portfolio of products and services in order to reduce the risk of functioning in a changing environment and increase the effects of the implemented strategy. One of the common methods of portfolio analysis used in strategic analysis is the BCG, Growth Share Matrix, or also known as BCG model, Boston Matrix, BCG Matrix, BCG analysis, or Boston box. So this was developed by Bruce Henderson in the early 1970s for Boston Consulting Group, okay, known management consulting. The Boston Consulting Group matrix presents different business units or major product lines based on their relative market share and the growth of the market. The model is useful in brand marketing, strategic management, and production management and business portfolio analysis. Market growth is presented by the vertical or y-axis. Ito. The axis is divided into two segments: more and less than 10% growth per year. A market growth above 10%, ito, is considered high. Therefore, this variable symbolizes the attractiveness of the market, while relative market share is represented by the horizontal or x-axis. Okay, this one. So it is company's market share divided by the share of its biggest competitor. So relative market share serves as a measure of the company's strength in the relevant market segment. So the limiting value is at 1. Okay? Is that, yun. A value greater than 1 implies that a company has the largest relative market share and therefore is the market leader. A relative market share of 0.1 means that company's sales volume is only 10% of the leader's sales volume. A relative share of 10 means that company's strategic business units is the leader and has 10 times the sales of the next strongest competitors in the market. So the highest value typically is defined on the left, ito, and the lowest is on the right, as opposite in the market growth. So BCG Matrix helps business to analyze growth opportunities by reviewing the market growth and market share of products and further help in deciding where to invest, to discontinue or develop products. BCG model puts each of the firm's business into one of the four categories. The categories were all given remarkable names: the cash cows, the stars, the dogs, and the question marks. So let us discuss now first the question marks. As seen, it is categorized as having a high growth but low market share. To high growth kasi more than 10, and having a low market share kasi nasa sa 0.1 to 1. This business represents a low market share in a high growth industry. So maliit lang ang nagabay or consume ng product pero nasa magandang location naman. So as the name suggests, it is difficult to say if these products will become the stars or drop into the dogs category. Generally, these products are the start-up or new products which have a good commercial prospect. Therefore, they require a huge amount of investment to gain or maintain market share and to become a star product. So no doubt, the market has growth opportunities, but these products have not succeeded to take benefits of these market opportunities to such an extent that they can be recognized as stars. Example for this is the Fanta, a Coca-Cola product, where the business units can be seen as a question mark, as the brand has not been able to gain widespread popularity similar to Coke. Therefore, the brand is losing its popularity. However, in some areas, it has been able to obtain a generous sales volume. So if ganitong setup, siguro rigorous marketing ad campaign is needed as well as marketing gimmicks para mag-increase ang product awareness. Okay, so next is the cash cows. This one. Categorized as having a low growth, yun, kasi nasa 0 to 10 yung classification na niya but high market share kasi nasa 1 to 10 ang classification niya in the horizontal axis. So, businesses under this category usually follow stability strategies. Further, these firms required a little investment and generate cash that can be utilized for investment in another business units. However, when cash cows lose their appeal and move towards decline, a retrenchment policy may be followed. So Coca-Cola is an example of cash cows. This product is sold across 200 countries in the mature beverage industry. The bottling partners in different regions help in making the finished beverages available to the market. This is how the organization is earning a significant amount of revenues from its finished products. So in a mature industry, it is advisable for a company to keep the sales volume high as the business unit is comparatively a good source of generative revenue. Next is we have the stars, categorized as having high growth and high market share. Stars are leaders in business. These products have rapid growth and dominant market share. However, they require heavy investments to maintain its positions and its large market share. Furthermore, stars lead to a large amount of cash consumption and cash generation. Therefore, an attempt should make to hold market share and to support further known otherwise, a star will become a cash cow. The bottled water Kinley, a Coca-Cola product, is one such example of stars. So this example is suitable here because the mineral water industry is still viewed as a gradually growing segment on an international scale. So the rising population would require more bottled water to fulfill the needs of the people. So due to the rising needs for bottled water, the growth opportunities for this business product in the industry has increased. So even though Kinley faces competition from other competitors, nevertheless, it is essential for the management to understand that the bottled water brands will remain a source of significant sales in the future. And finally, we have these dogs, categorized under low growth and low market share. Okay, so these firms have low market share due to poor quality, ineffective market, high cost, and many more reasons. They neither generate cash nor require a huge amount of cash. Due to low market share, these firms face cost disadvantage. Therefore, in such situation, managers need to decide whether the investment currently being spent on keeping these products alive could be spent on making something that would be more profitable. So Diet Coke, a Coca-Cola product, is an example of dogs. It was launched with the motive to offer consumers relatively healthier beverage options in terms of calories consumed. However, the brand has not been able to fetch consumers' interest, which led to the declined sales of this business unit. So the soda industry has been matured in recent years. Therefore, the growth prospects for new products are limited now. So in conclusion, the BCG model helps in strategic planning, but like any other marketing model, it works in some situations and in others. So it helps companies to assess which products need to be promoted to generate revenue and which one needs to be discontinued. So in short, BCG model gives a true picture of how marketing efforts will affect businesses' overall cash flow. Next discussion is the Strategic Business Unit or SBU. SBU is a profit center which focuses on product offering and market segment. SBUs typically have a discrete marketing plan analysis of competition and marketing campaign, even though they may be part of a larger business entity. A strategic business unit or SBU operates as an independent entity, but it has to report directly to the headquarters of the organization about the status of its operation. So it operates independently and it focused on a target market. So it is big enough to have its own support functions such as HR, training departments, etc. There are several benefits of having an SBU. So this principle works best for organizations which have multiple product structure. So SPU are able to affect most factors which influence their performance. General Electric is an example of a company with this sort of business organization. Managed as separate businesses, they are responsible to a parent corporation. So GE has 49 SBUs. So the best example of SBU are companies like Procter and Gamble, LG, and many more. So these companies have different product categories under one roof. For example, LG as a company makes consumer durables. So it makes refrigerators, washing machines, air conditioners as well as television. So these small units are formed as separate SBUs so that revenues costs are as well as profits can be tracked independently once a unit is given an SBU status, so it can make its own decisions, investment, budgets, etc. It will be quick to react when the product's market shares or takes a shift of changes start happening before the shift happens. The last topic is on related diversification. Related diversification is the most popular distinction between the different types of diversification and is made with regards to how close the field of diversification is to the field of the existing business activities. So this type of diversification is used mostly by small businesses because it is less risky. In the majority of cases, it does not require big investment and owners feel more secure because they know the opportunities and threats in the field of their main business activities. However, sometimes this diversification does not bring the expected results and profits. Most often, the reason for this is the underestimation of accompanying problems and the need of knowledge and skills in the field of change management, cultural differences, human resource management such as layoff, quitting, promoting, and hiring, and so on. However, the reason for not meeting the results and expectations of the diversification may be the overestimation of the expected benefits and profits from the synergy during the preliminary analysis. Richard Branson, famous from his companies Virgin, has more than 300 companies that carry the Virgin name: Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Mobile, and Virgin Galactic. His most recent venture into space travel are just a few examples. So this related diversification strategy works because all the companies share the brand, marketing, public relations, and corporate knowledge. And that's all for the discussion for the Big Picture C Unit Learning Outcome A. Stay tuned for the next video to discuss about the Unit Learning Outcome B. So thank you and God bless.